When we hear the Iron Curtain, we think of this one, the one that divided the east of Europe to the west. But if we take a short walk of 4,500 miles, we find another ideological division, in Asia, and it's called, I'm not making this up, the Bamboo Curtain. But that's a little too dicey for me, so the Asian Iron Curtain in under 10 minutes. Go. The date is September 2nd, 1945, and Japan has surrendered, finally ending World War II officially. The Empire of Japan had occupied all of this territory, and now it all goes back to who had it before them, except this bit. This is Manchuria, and the Soviets decide to keep it for some safekeeping. Also, Korea is divided into the Northern Democratic People's Republic and the Southern Just Republic. In 1946, a ragtag group of communist bros, led by none other than Ho Chi Minh, launched a rebellion against French rule in Indochina, which had been reinstated at the end of World War II. After bloody fighting, the French finally noped out in 1954 with the Geneva Accords. This split the land of Indochina into 4 countries: Cambodia, Laos, North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, and South Vietnam. We'll come back to this later. Meanwhile, you see this bit of land between Russia and the ocean? We like to call that China. So what's going on in China? A bloody civil war, that's what. It had been raging between Mao's communists and the nationalist Kuomintang since before Japan's invasion in 1937. Now, back then it seemed the communists were going to get crushed. In fact, they were, pretty badly. So badly they had to retreat deep into China. But before the Kuomintang could finish them off, the aforementioned Japanese invasion occurred. And now, due to the Kuomintang's leadership's horrible handling of the war, the Chinese people's backing was behind Mao, and now they were winning. The Soviets then decided the Chinese were communist enough to have their land back in Manchuria. This gave Mao an even stronger foothold. The nationalists were pushed back and back and back until they had to abandon the mainland and retreat to the island of Taiwan. This is where they remain to this day. Now, going forward to 1950, this guy, Kim Il-sung, the leader of North Korea, decides the whole place would really look a lot better if he owned all of it. So he launched an invasion of the South expecting to steamroll it. And, well, they did. But before they could win the war, the US-led peacekeeping force intervened to stop them. After intense fighting, they almost defeated Kim. But then China pulled a switch on him and did the same thing but for the North. In the end, a stalemate develops around the 38th parallel where the border had been originally. A ceasefire was signed, but the two remain technically at war to this day. Now, back to Vietnam, where in 1955, Ho Chi Minh also decides South Vietnam should be ruled by its northern counterpart, and invades as the South Vietnamese communists, known as the Viet Minh, tried to depose the standing government. The US freaks out in fear of the domino theory. Basically, if Vietnam falls to communism, then everyone will fall to communism, according to the US leadership. And so, they bombed the crap out of the North until deciding it wasn't enough and sent in the troops. The whole thing was kind of a mess, quite infamously actually, and the US had to leave after civil unrest at home. The South then fell in 1975. So whoa, we're already at 1975, so allow me to backtrack a little bit to 1953 in Laos, which similarly to Vietnam fell into a communist civil war which also happened to end in 1975 with a communist victory. In the same year, the final of the Indo-Chinese nations, Cambodia, falls under the control of Pol Pot's Communist Party. It turns out he was a genocidal maniac, and the North, or now just Vietnam, had to invade to oust him in January of 1979. Communism fell in Laos in 1991, the same year as the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Then, after the return of British-held Hong Kong and Portuguese Macau to China, everyone just forgot about Asia, except for the occasional laugh at North Korea, of course. But then we all collectively remembered China is huge and is set to become the new biggest economy. So let's go, everybody. Cold War Part 2, and this time, the Asian Iron Curtain may be the star of the show.